Hey, there you go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Menifee Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commission meeting for Thursday, May 1st. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Ms. Jones, would you please take roll?
Chair Faust.
Here.
Vice Chair Peterson.
Here.
Commissioner Gitterroyce. Commissioner Sanchez.
Here. Commissioner
Tremblay.
Thank you. We're on item 3, Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Commissioner Sanchez to lead us in the pledge.
Please stand, face the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now at item number 4, presentations. 4.1, Community Services Department Employees of the Quarter. And
Good evening,
Katz.
Commissioners.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure to present the Community Services Department Employees of the Quarter. Each quarter, the team is invited to nominate their coworkers who they believe exemplify such qualities as excellent customer service skills, teamwork, and initiative. This past quarter, 6 employees were nominated, and from there, the selection committee chose the top part-time and full-time employees to recognize here today. Commissioners, can you please join our employees at the front to help recognize them and present them with their plaque? So first, I would like to invite our part-time employee of the quarter, Sarah Eccles, to the front. Here is what her nominator had to say about her. Although we recently lost our team's amazing and irreplaceable captain of the ship, Chelsea, our team is still strong and capable and will be okay. Not only because we do have very good team members overall, but also that Sarah is our team's critically stabilizing force. She's not only a storehouse of the experience and knowledge that are essential to our responsibilities, but she's also hardworking and a highly respected team leader who relates well to both our team and the public in a professional and human manner. I have personally had the pleasure of directly supervising Sarah these past couple of months, and I can say she is an absolute joy to work with. She's truly stepped up and helped lead her team forward, and she's always looking for new ways to grow and learn. So, congratulations, Sarah.
I'd just like to take a minute and just say, I do appreciate Sarah as part of the community services team. She's just been a wonderful support to a lot of things that I've been involved with through the Interfaith Council and through all the community service events that we take place. Thank you. Most recently, the Menifee Better Together. She took a lead role in that. And even today, helping to set up for the National Day of Prayer event we had just outside. Just a wonderful person. She's sits on the You Matter committee. She's at Community Partners. She's also at the Interfaith Council as well too, making presentations on behalf of the city. So she's just a wonderful employee, and I really do. I'm glad that you're being recognized.
Next is our full-time employee, Edward Cavedo, who was also selected as the city's employee of the quarter.
And I'll take over for here and talk about Ed. I'm not going to roast you. No. Ed's an amazing employee. He's been with us a couple years, and he's just worked his way up. So he maintains 2 of the largest parks in the city, the sports parks. And then not on top of that, he gets all the sports fields ready. And he's been training guys, training crews to be able to do it on the weekends. He's on our Saturday crews. He works throughout the weekend. He comes in on his days off when it's needed. Ask him, yep, he'll be there. He'll put in the time. Just training alone, him training a crew and being able to train people for that skill set and everything, no complaints, never complains, just does his job. and being able to train them and be maintaining the largest sports fields that we have. And that's during the day. He gets praised from our senior softball league for how well he is with them, his communication with them, prepping the field at 6 to 7 in the morning, getting ready on Saturdays for the pony and softball leagues. He's there. If the soccer leagues need something, he brings the machine out and he'll paint those fields. So all that hard work is definitely noticed, and it's not just in our as Gabby said, from community services. Ed just won the employee of the quarter in the entire city. There's almost 300 employees, and that was Ed beat everyone out on that, and that shows a lot of who you are, Ed. So, congratulations, well deserved.
It's always a pleasure to be able to recognize our outstanding employees here in community services. So thank you for that, and thank you. Job well done, folks. Let's go to presentation 4.2, active transportation and complete streets plan, and we have Jenny McConville.
Good evening. Thank you for having me back. My name is Jenny McConville. I am the management analyst for the Capital Improvement Program Division of Public Works, and I also served as the project manager for the development of the Complete Streets Plan. So just a little bit of a recap. The plan is developed to provide equitable and safe networks for all modes of transportation, whether that be walking, biking, public transit, or even vehicles. The project was primarily funded through a Sustainable Communities Transportation Planning Grant through Caltrans. The project began development in February of 2023. It was about an 18-month development process, and it was adopted by council on July 17th, 2024. So we're just coming up on about a year. And we do maintain an active webpage still for the Complete Streets Plan. The URL is right there if anybody wants to visit. There's, you can find the actual adopted Complete Streets Plan document there, as well as a live survey map, which we keep on there for the community to continuously provide us with feedback on what they want to see happen in their neighborhoods. So here's just an overview of the top 20 priority projects, and it's probably better to kind of think of these more as priority locations than projects, just because they aren't always done in one single fell swoop. Sometimes we look at incorporating aspects of any of these recommendations into existing CIP projects. We even look at developers potentially being conditioned to do some of these complete streets improvements as well. And our Public Works operation and maintenance team has actually helped kind of implement some of these elements as well. So the top 5 are highlighted there because within the Complete Streets Plan, the design group, KTUNA, they provided conceptual drawings for these top 5 priority areas. And then priority areas 6 through 20 have just call outs basically. So, and the reason the top 5 have the conceptual drawings is to help us pursue grant funding for elements that are proposed in those priority areas. So let's see. So this exhibit is actually taken from the Parks Master Plan, and it's overlaid with the Complete Streets priority areas. So you can see all of those little bubbles with numbers represent those top 20 priority projects. And the reason that we did this was just to kind of show that there is connectivity between streets and trails and parks, whether that be bicycle lanes connecting people to those trails, sidewalks connecting pedestrians to those parks, that everything kind of is cohesive with the Complete Streets Plan, and that's the purpose of it. And this is kind of the same concept. This was also taken from the Parks Master Plan. So again, you can see The red circles are proposed parks in the Parks Master Plan, and you can just see the overlay of the Complete Streets project areas and how they relate to those future potential parks. So I will go into some of our recently completed CIP projects. There's a lot on here, so I'm not going to go through every single thing, but just to highlight a few of them. Everyone knows our Holland overpass is completed, substantially completed. We haven't taken it to council quite yet, but there were Complete Streets elements involved in the design process: sidewalks, bicycle lanes, street lighting, and this project was developed to provide to alleviate traffic on Newport. So really kind of to serve as like a local road alternative to Newport for the residents in this community, because we all know traffic on Newport can be difficult. So the Holland overpass kind of lines up with Complete Streets priority number 6. You'll notice in the Complete Streets recommendations, the corridors are very extensive. Some of them go from city limits on the west side to city limits on the east side, from the north to the south. Capital projects are not typically done this way. We like to look at smaller segments at a time, typically about a mile at a time, just for financial reasons. Doing an entire segment would be millions and millions of dollars. And so we kind of try to look at the high priority areas. We look at safety. That's a big component in how we decide to move forward with capital projects, what we decide to recommend to council to move forward. And then we also look at our existing CIP and what is programmed in there to come up in the next 5 years. And we would incorporate some of these elements in those CIP projects. So that's kind of what you see on this slide. Another one to highlight is the Bradley Road widening near Paloma Valley High School. That aligns with the Complete Streets priority number 1. It doesn't complete the entire priority area, but it does provide a lot of the elements of the Complete Streets. So that means installing crosswalks for the students there. We extended some sidewalks as well, installed ADA ramps, and what we call rectangular rapid flashing beacons, which are lined up along the crosswalks to alert vehicles that a pedestrian is in the walkway. And then let's see. The last one there, Menifee Road resurfacing, that also lines up with Complete Streets recommendation number 8. And we did install so that was a resurfacing project. Anytime we do resurfacing projects, we always look at the opportunity to install bicycle lanes when we go back into restripe. If it's feasible, we implement that. So that is what was done on the recently completed Menifee Road resurfacing. We installed some Class 2 bike lanes. And then these are some of those public works operations and maintenance efforts that relate to Complete Streets elements. So one that I really want to highlight is that Garbani Menifee Valley Middle School. We did a community engagement, I believe it was in 2023, where we went to Menifee Valley Middle School and we invited the community to come give us input on how we could make it safer for their students to get to school. And one of the main themes that came out of that was that during rain events, there was no sidewalk connecting the students to the school. They would have to trek through mud and maybe even walk on the asphalt, which was, wet and dangerous because there's vehicles as well. So our public works team went in there and they installed an asphalt walkway on the south side of Garbani, so right in front of the middle school, just allowing them a safer route. And that's an interim. A lot of these projects are interim, but as a means to facilitate safe routes to school, better to have that now, and then eventually we will look at widening Garbani to ultimate width, and permanent sidewalks would be installed at that point. And then here's just some photos. The top is the Holland overpass. The bottom's one of our resurfacing. I think that's Marietta, and that might have been last fiscal year. And then just some of our public works efforts. So you can see we have a stencil truck, so they go out there, they look at faded markings, especially in school zones, and they will go out there and they will restripe. They also work on signage, so they'll put up wayfinding signs or, school zone signs just to alert drivers and help kind of protect some of the pedestrian students there. And then these are the projects currently in construction. So let's see. The Bradley Bridge, I know that's a highly anticipated project. We look at awarding the contract, I believe, on the 7th, so next week. And then we anticipate construction starting in June for that project. As you know, that project is going to raise Bradley, creating a bridge so that way when we have storm events, we don't have to close the roadway. And it will also bring up the Salt Creek Trail crossing in kind, so basically just exactly what it is right now. That's how it will be crossing over the new bridge as well. And it's about an 18-month construction. There will be detours, and we anticipate having that completed in September 2026, just if everything goes well with weather and all of the other elements. So, and then another really highly anticipated project is the Palomawash pedestrian bridge. So this is a really good example of an active transportation plan project. What this does is it installs a prefabricated bridge going from Central Park on the west to Hahn on the east, connecting pedestrians and bicyclists. So it'll kind of be like a multi-use bridge, connecting them to the Countryside Marketplace. So it provides an alternative to pedestrian and bicycle traffic traveling along Newport, which we know isn't always safe. So this kind of provides an alternate for all of those residential communities on that west side. And then here's some renderings of some future projects. So we have the Palomawash Bridge conceptual up there on the left, and then Bradley Bridge. That's a very old rendering. As you can see, it shows a dirt path. It won't be a dirt crossing. It will be the actual asphalt that it is now. And then Scott Bundy Canyon. That's also we're looking at possibly phasing that into 2 segments at this point. That'll go from Hahn to the westerly city limits, which I believe is Sunset Avenue, so our border with Wildemar. And we just look to widen it from a 2-lane to a 4-lane and install some traffic signals. Bike lanes will be installed as well, and ADA ramps. And then the McCall interchange, that also has a sidewalk component, bicycle lanes, and then some widening as well with the bridge that goes over the I-215. And then we have a lot of projects that are in design right now that have incorporated some complete streets elements. So that first one at the top, Antelope Road resurfacing, our project manager did take a look at the complete streets recommendations along Antelope. That's the priority project number 3 in the complete streets plan. And they did look at the bicycle lanes that were recommended as part of that priority 3. And so we will be installing those bicycle lanes in that segment, as well as some ADA ramps. And I believe there's a curb extension as well that was recommended in the complete streets plan that will also be installed. And then let's see, the Evans-Craig traffic signal, that aligns with the priority 1, complete streets priority 1. So that installs a traffic signal to enhance the school zone safety for Paloma Valley High School and Menifee Valley Middle School. There will be a 4-way traffic signal installed at that intersection. And the ramps there will be upgraded to ADA compliant ramps. And then the last one down at the bottom, the Harvest Valley Elementary School, that is actually an active transportation plan project recommended in the active transportation plan. We do have a grant through the ATP. We have a grant for that project. So that project will construct sidewalks, crosswalks, bicycle lanes, and ADA ramps to enhance the safety, safe routes to school for the students at Harvest Valley Elementary School. And then there's a lot of different elements of complete streets plan. Street lights are considered an element, high visibility crosswalks, signage is even. So a lot of different components go into these projects that support the complete streets plan. So the McCall Boulevard widening, which is like the middle one on there, that aligns with Complete Streets priority number 15. And we look to widen from 2 to 4 lanes. We will be installing sidewalks on the south side and Class 2 bike lanes.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because there's so much here that
Yes,
you're
there's a lot.
going through.
Yeah,
Back-
anytime you have questions,
Sure,
just let me know.
back up on that McCall widening,
Yeah.
is that basically over the hill portion from around the hospital where it goes up and over?
Yes, so it goes, let me think.
I'm not
where
sure
the
where
primary-
Oakhurst is, so.
Goes from hospital, oh, hi, Nick. It goes from hospital to, what's the other side of it? To Junipero, yeah. So
Oh,
the
okay.
east side,
So, yeah, connects, easier way to get to the parks and things that are
Yes,
over there. Okay,
yes.
on Junipero. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
sure.
Oh, I had one other one too, on a previous slide. It was,
Let me know if I need to go back further.
now, Bradley and Holland. You know, that intersection still is, you know, there's the big culvert on the southwest corner that makes widening and even a right turn lane from eastbound Holland onto southbound Bradley. You know, it always backs up there with traffic during school times. Is that targeted in the future, Nick?
That's correct. If you've been watching our council meetings and our CIP programming, we're looking at Holland Road being built over 3 phases. We'll have the section that we're currently in design or going into design with, which would be from Holland or Hahn to Bradley.
Bradley.
The next phase would be Bradley to Murrieta, and then Murrieta to city limits. So it's in 3 phases. So it'll take some time for us to get there. There is that culvert does create quite a bit of a challenge for widening, but we are working on the first phase, which would be widening the section from Bradley all the way to Hahn to 4 lanes, 2 in each direction.
The bridge, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions on any of these, or you want me to keep going?
I do have a question. We're talking a lot about bike lanes. We've had this discussion before about making them green, painting those green. Is that something that's in consideration?
So yeah, that's a relatively new standard Caltrans has started adopting. We do have some areas that we're proposing them, and it's typically at high conflict points on higher road capacities. So yes, we do have those in our plans to put those on some of our arterial roadways where there's both high bicyclist and high vehicular conflict zones.
Okay, let's see. Did I go over this one? Yes. Any questions on this slide? Okay, and then this is the final slide with our projects that are in design. So the Menifee Road widening, that first one at the top, that aligns with Complete Streets priority number 8. And that will install Class 2 bike lanes and sidewalks, as well as streetlights and modifications to the existing traffic signals. The second one, Murrieta Road widening, aligns with our Complete Streets priority number 9. And that one as well installs ADA ramps, traffic signals, and there will be some restriping as well. And then the Garbani interchange, that, does that have bike lanes? Yeah, so there will also be bike lanes as part of that project as well. And then the last one on this list, this is a brand new project. This is something that we have recommended to council to adopt in our next biennial budget. And we received a highway safety improvement program grant. And so what this grant will help us do is install high visibility crosswalks and those rapid rectangular flashing beacons at some unsignalized pedestrian crossings citywide. And then there's also another project that is not on this list, but it's a good example of complete streets. So there's an existing sidewalk gap on Sun City Boulevard, Barnett Road, in front of the club. Yeah, in front of the club, and we've heard a lot of feedback from the community about closing that sidewalk gap. This is a perfect example of private development coming in, doing some frontage improvements on either side, resulting in a gap in the middle. So we have recommended to council to fund a project to close that gap. So that's kind of what we look at for complete streets, is closing any gaps, connecting networks, and just, you know, trying to make roads safe for everyone, all users and all abilities. And then I think I forgot to mention that Mayor Pro Tem Carwin asked us to add a project to look at connecting the Salt Creek Trail and the Paloma Wash Trail. And we recommended that we start with a feasibility study because the connection would look at crossing Newport potentially. And so we wanted to make sure that however we connect that, it's done in the most safe and efficient way. So we will be adding a feasibility study to our upcoming 5-year CIP. It is not funded at this point, but it is going to be added for future funding.
I did have one question on that last slide. The Murrieta Road widening, Holland to Newport, greatly needed. And is that going to also, will there be some modifications at Murrieta and La Piedra, where we've got that kind of funky, I know we put, made some improvements there, but it's still kind of funky with the offset with the property.
Yeah, as
there
part
on
of
that northeast corner.
as part of the project, yes, there'll be some modifications to that intersection. Obviously, we're widening. The west side of the road is already widened to full width. We'll be widening to the east side. It's kind of difficult right now because the property there on the northeast corner is right up to the edge. So in order for us to do the widening, we'll have to acquire right away from that parcel.
Okay, so we don't have existing right-of-way now?
No, it's built right up to the right-of-way right now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Ms. McConville? Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that detailed presentation. We're now to agenda item number 5, approval of minutes. 5.1, the approval of the April 3rd, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Any comments or corrections? If not, could I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? I guess I'm the odd man out, so I will approve and we'll move forward. Thank you. Consider those minutes approved. Item 6, agenda approval or modifications. Ms. Jones, do we have any agenda modifications needed?
No modification.
Okay, thank you. Item 7 now is public comments on non-agenda items only. This is the time for members of the public to address the commission about items which are not listed on the agenda. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits the commission's ability to respond to comments on non-agendized matters at the time such comments are made. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes on any single item. Please submit a completed speaker card to the commission secretary, and I understand we do have a few comments, or people that would like to make public comments. So let's invite the first one up.
So we do have 3 requests to speak. The first is Liam Megan. Could you please approach the podium?
Hey guys, thank you for your time ahead of time, by the way. My name is Liam Megan. I'm a director for CESC, a soccer club based in Menifee, Temecula and Lake Elsinore. I just wanted to talk really quickly about fields and maybe some of the restrictions around field space and field usage. So we currently run both after-school programs, we run recreation programs, and we run competitive programs across Menifee. Our numbers have gone up on the recreation side from last year to this year, 7.2%. We're at just over 600 players for our rec program. We have 22 competitive teams on the club side of the program in Menifee. So I just wanted to talk really quickly about some of the limitations around field space and lights and field quality as well within the city of Menifee. And our relationship with the city of Menifee is really, really positive. Everything's really good. Communication's great. Allocations are brilliant. The only restriction is, again, the lack of field space. So across all of those teams and all those programs that we run, we're currently using 5 different fields across the city of Menifee. 2 of those have lights. So when it's not right now going into the summer, really, really difficult to allocate teams out there appropriately, which it does mean teams are crammed into very small spaces. Audie Murphy being one of them. We've currently got 12 teams training there at one time, because we split the field into 12 zones. So with the limited space, that does affect our program as well, and the program quality, and obviously the participants that are coming in from Menifee. And then the second thing is the quality of the fields as well. So with the amount of usage from our program, from other soccer programs, football programs, whatever it is, baseball, all the youth programs within Menifee, obviously it does have a wear and tear on these fields. And I think maybe the lack of fields available right now, there's a lot of strain on those fields, those grass, and really, really difficult to rest and maintain and monitor. So it's a difficult job for those guys that are in charge of that. And we do appreciate there has been some fields added. Quartz Ranch was added and was allocated to us. Amazing facility. Unfortunately, it was then taken away because of lack of parking, which could be another problem with some of the other fields as well. But the biggest issue, I believe, is the lack of lights to maintain all of the different youth sports, again, especially in the winter time, and getting teams out there, getting players out there. It's really, really difficult to accommodate, and we've actually got to the point where we have 3 elite teams within our competitive program, so they play in a national platform, and we're having to send them down to Murrieta to train at Los Alamos Sports Park, simply because the quality of the fields in Menifee, unfortunately, isn't at the standard of what the families expect, the teams expect, the coaches expect across a national platform. So in an ideal world, we'd like to keep those teams local in Menifee. But again, unfortunately, they're having to move out of town to train in another city, another complex, to get better quality fields and more field space, and with lights as well.
Thank you, Liam. Your time is up, but I do have one question.
Yeah.
Just what are the 3 fields that you're playing on that don't have lights?
Remington Park, E.L. Peterson, and Nova Park.
Thank you, Liam. Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Next speaker.
Next, we have Melanie Phillips. Please approach the podium. Ms. Phillips, you requested to speak also on 8.2, which is an agenda item. So we ask you please speak only on the non-agenda item, and we'll call you back for your comments on 8.2.
I had to write mine down because nerves. My name is Melanie Phillips. I'm the Regional Commissioner for Menifee AYSO. I come to you despite my aversion to public speaking, but with the desire to do right by the kids in my program, to request that the council place strong consideration into the expansion of our local parks and lights at the existing ones. I've been on the board for AYSO for 6 years this month, and in that time I've seen the youth sports landscape in Menifee change dramatically. In the 1.5 years since I took over, we've grown by 60%, netting an impressive growth rate of 500 players just from last spring to this one, just in our rec program, effectively marking our largest season to date. With impressive growth comes the need for more space. We have a special needs program, are completely volunteer-based, and are one of the only organizations that is truly a nonprofit. We have 4 total lit parks that are owned by the city of Menifee. AYSO gets 4 days a week at one of them, 2 at another, and that's all we have to offer 140 teams to practice on outside of what is allocated to us through Valleywide. Audie Murphy is full of ankle-breaking holes. Centennial is bare because of the sheer amount of use, and even with both of those, we have to shorten practices, mitigate conflict between coaches vying for space, and shuffle teams to other parks as soon as the time change allows for us to do so. We're scrambling to provide ample space for the number of kids that want to play in our program, and we'll reach numbers this season that will require us to turn away players if we can't find a solution. Countless studies have shown that kids that are involved in youth sports programs are far less likely to partake in illicit drug use or even more sinister activities. Sports provides a greater sense of self-worth, of confidence, access to quality leaders and mentors to guide them in the right direction. In all of our funding endeavors, the need for additional space for kids to enjoy safe, wholesome, character-building activities seems to have been lost. They are our future, the ones who will eventually raise their own families within our city limits, and who are the most impressionable. We have huge parks like Remington that are unusable after 5:30 p.m. before the time changes. 6 months out of the year, one of the most beautiful facilities sits unused after work hours because the city isn't allocating funds to correct the problem and address a massive need. Parks like Nova Park could be filled with young kids with a playground right on the field where moms can monitor both practice and toddlers simultaneously. Instead, it's a hangout spot for teens to go as soon as it's dark because the space is being wasted. We have incredibly successful teams within our program with quite a bit of notoriety. There are other directors in this room who will say the same and just did. A sports complex or additional practice field space would bring additional attention to Menifee because the kids and their talent warrant as much. There are opportunities for partnership that will show the public that you have a heart for the kids in Menifee and you want to do right by them. Our allocation process is geared away from programs who don't receive any fiduciary benefit from the kids that sign up to play. I offered to help fund lights and still share the field at some of these parks and was immediately shot down because it goes against policy, a policy that seems to serve no one. We have an opportunity to help those that are underserved and to meet the needs of the public that you all are here to serve. I come to you, hat and public speaking anxiety in hand, to ask that all of those factors be taken into consideration when allocating funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Appreciate your comments. Next speaker.
Next, we have Cesar Rivera. Mr. Rivera, did you want to speak on a non-agenda item or something that's, okay, please approach the podium. Thank you.
All right, good evening. I'm going to go quick because I feel like I'm on a game show. So my time starts now. All right, so I'm going to piggyback off of them. I really don't have a set topic, like in detail what I'm going to talk about, but I just love what they said because me being from this area, I grew up in the city of Paris. I graduated from Paris High School, went to Paloma the first year it opened, have grown up here, raised my family here, have actually coached for City SC, have coached for AYSO, have been on the board for AYSO, and now I'm with Surf, representing Surf Club as a coach as well. And when I talk about the other non-agenda, you'll hear about my other story. But I just want to really reiterate how important this is because I've seen it. I've raised my kids in this area. The need for fields and lighting is massive. I can't stress enough how important that is to really focus on allocating funds to that. The quality of the fields as well. A lot of the fields are unusable because they're just not taken care of well. The grass is long on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and I understand that the staff does really well. I saw the gentleman getting acknowledged. I'm sure he has his hands full, but if we can allocate more time and money and resources to pay attention to those things, we'll be able to use the resources that we have here in Menifee much better because there are a lot of fields. I probably practiced or have attempted to practice at every single field here in Menifee and Sun City at some point over the last 14 years that I've been coaching. So, I just really hope that the city takes a look at this. I love the fact that you guys are improving the streets, the highways, because a lot of the kids that I coach ride their electrical bikes, walk to school. I've seen it. I've picked up kids on the road to take them to school on rainy days, and it is a problem. And just like the city and the streets, traffic is a problem. The same thing is happening on the soccer fields and on the sports fields, and not just for soccer, but football and other sports as well. So one of the things I thought about too is maybe leveraging some of these schools. We have a lot of schools now too that do have fields and access to fields that they don't use after school. Maybe partnering with some of those schools to maybe open those up to some of the clubs or recreational programs. I know AYSO used to have, or I'm not sure if they do, but access to one of the middle schools over here where they were allowed to go in. But again, once time changes, the lights are gone and we're in the same situation. I've been in a situation where I've actually myself hired someone to cut the grass at a park in the past. I mean, I paid like $200 just to practice for a week. I have brought my own lights, portable lights to parks. I have, done anything and everything to really just do what we can to have practice, be able to have accessible fields. And again, I think the quality of the fields is important to look at as well. Some of these fields are allocated to us, but they're unusable because there's gopher holes, there's rabbit holes, and so on and so forth. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me here. I've always wanted to be in the city room like this, so thank you.
Mr. Rivera, could you confirm what other item you'd like to speak on, 8.1 or 8.2?
8.2.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Appreciate your comments, too. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad you're staying for the discussion items, which are next. Was there any other speaker requests?
No other speakers.
Okay, thank you. Then let's move forward to 8. Item 8, discussion items. 8.1, capital improvement program budget recommendations for fiscal year 2025 to 2027 biennial budget. And recommended action, review and provide recommendation to City Council related to infill projects for the next fiscal year, CIP program, ensuring alignment with community needs and available resources. And Bryce Hall, going to lead us through this?
Yeah, I'll do my best. Okay, so back in March, our last commission meeting, March 6th, brought forth to you guys was a recommendation for a few projects for our biannual 2025 through 2027 capital improvement plan that we have. And those two projects that was recommended was the Case Cisnero Senior Center roof and the LMD right-of-way landscape conversion that we brought forth to council workshop that was held on April 2nd and then April 16th. Again, reviewing that biannual capital improvement with the recommendations and everything from staff, and that includes parks and streets and everything that's there. During that workshop, council did recommend asking the Park Commission to potentially reallocate. There's a $1.2 million available from a general fund from putting a couple projects that are on hold that were in the program right now. We're going to put it on hold and use that funding now because those projects will be done in the future with correlating with other projects that are there. And then also during that workshop, council did express interest in the potential of reallocating those funds, particularly for sports field lighting. Now, when we go back to look at what our needs are, we always want to go back to the Parks Master Plan and look in there. And in the Parks Master Plan, which was adopted in 2023, the newer one that we just did, in Appendix B of that, it has infill opportunities. And in those infill opportunities, it's where potential to be able to put playgrounds or community gardens, splash pads, different things that we can use throughout the park system that are missing, just to give the opportunity for more use of the parks, better for the community in that. Now, although sports field lighting was not specifically identified as a standalone priority in that master plan, it may complement these enhancements, and bring more opportunity for the community to be able to use the longevity of the park, into those later hours and everything. And that's why council had recommended moving that, or what recommended asking commission what their thoughts are with that 1.2 million, if we could put it towards the park system somehow. But like I said, we always want to go back to that Parks Master Plan that we did, to be able to see what is needed in the complete community. Whoop. So what we did is, going off of what council had recommended about the sports field lighting, we went and did, as you can see just on that top corner, those are the existing fields that have lights, or that and then there's two that are going to have them in progress. Now, a lot of them aren't all multi-purpose field. There's ball fields, so the multi-purpose field can be either from soccer, football, lacrosse. Anything can use those fields. So multi-purpose, you have a lot of different leagues and opportunities to be able to use those. So we have 4 multi-purpose fields that have existing lighting, and then 3 baseball fields that are in there. We have La Ladera Park that's going to have more sports field lighting, but that will be for the smaller baseball fields. And Cimarron Ridge will also be 2 more baseball fields. In the probably 5 to 7 years that would go in Parks in Progress, we remember Lagata will have multi-purpose fields, but obviously that's not going to help right away. That's right here. Potential infill sites that we have recommended staff for being able to put lights. Now, there are ones that, like the users have said, Remington, Nova, those are good parks and they have the multi-purpose, but some of them don't have restrooms or parking availability. And we want to do the least amount of impact to inside the community with parking cars and everything like that. So staff had, as we looked at them, ones that have restrooms, have at least parking, but then still have some street parking that wouldn't impact the residents as much, was Pete Peterson and Hidden Hills are perfect examples of parks that would be able to use those lights. Now the cost potential, the estimated cost is about $400,000 per field, maybe a little less than that, but that's our. We've been working with Musco Lighting, already getting some proposals for that. So that's our $400,000 per field is the right amount for, or right estimate to say per field to be able to do it. And that could be a baseball field, that could be a multi-purpose field. It's all those, the 4 lights that are going in there, your transformers and all the electrical and everything. Now your annual utility cost will increase with those lights. It's about $10,000 annually per field. And then your field maintenance costs will just go up a little bit because we already have field maintenance. Now you're going to need a little bit more, obviously, because of the use. But it's not going to increase a lot because you will be able to take some with that field lighting from other fields. So there wouldn't be 4 fields on there. You could have 2 teams instead of the 4 teams practicing if you're able to move to another field and have a longer time at the field. So on the total cost for 1 year for to be able to put in the lights, $412,000. That's your one-time cost, and then your ongoing annual cost, you're looking at about a little under $13,000. So $12,500 is our estimated cost per year for that. Now, electric rates may go up and all that, but that's here nor there. But this is our current estimation and what we are paying for other fields that with lights. So again, that's the potential that council asked for you guys to discuss, was what you guys are looking for, what park or what commission would recommend for the parks to be able to use that $1.2 million possibly for any of that that's in the parks.
Sheriff House, we do have one request to speak on this item.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just, I was questioning order of procedure. Should we get comments first or ask staff questions first?
I would recommend before discussion.
Get comments first?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Let's call our first speaker on this.
Michael Knighton, please approach the podium.
8.1.
No, yes, I'm done. Sorry. We knew the PowerPoint, so that's why we knew, and it was a good cough. Sorry, we should have let you know.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm going to start off here. I read the staff report, and I was a little disappointed in there was no cost for the infill projects. You know, how much does this cost? How much does that cost? Because if I was sitting up there tonight, I would recommend spending $20 million for infill projects. They got it tough because they got to decide on how to spend 1.2. Secondly, I just got notes and questions. You guys can answer me after the meeting, but no complaints tonight. I just want to make some comments here. About the 1.2, why is that the only money? Why aren't we looking for grants or using Quimby funds? I saw a lot of the infill projects listed as skate parks. I don't think skate park is necessary on the west side at this point, since we do have the Audie Murphy skate park. Central Park. My comment on Central Park for infill, we need a dog park over there. You got town center with all those homes with no backyards. Dogs need a run. So I would recommend the commission to pass that along to council. Also, from what I've been hearing is there's a lot of complaints over at Central Park for no shade at the for the amphitheater. So it'd be nice to have them kind of in the warning track area, maybe some ADA compliant shade structures, benches, something for the people who can't sit on lawns. Splash pads, that's a big priority. The most you guys can get out of this 1.2, that would be better. This infill, the level of service, I don't like that for the number of splash pads you guys have. And on this list, on the infill document there. You only have 16 infill opportunities, where I think we can think about adding cornhole, horseshoes, rope climbs, rock climbs. All those items are small cost in comparison to like your $400,000 lighting. If you could consider that, that'd be great too for the kids. And finally, as a planning commissioner, it would be nice if we can somehow, and I don't know the logistics, but maybe Rebecca can coordinate somehow, is if we work together. Maybe meet quarterly, talk about issues. You guys get parks, we get parks, but we're not communicating on what you guys discuss, and we're not communicating back to you guys on what we discuss regarding parks. Am I out of time? Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Knight, and I appreciate your comments and made some good notes, and appreciate some of your recommendations as well, too. Thank you. Anyone else to speak
Not for
on
this item.
8.1? Okay. Then let me ask my fellow commissioners, they got questions for staff. Laz?
All right. Well, first off, I just have to say, if we could work with Hidden Hills for lights, I think that's a no-brainer. You know, and I do personally know, but also, you know, I've been speaking with some of these guys about the strain that's on their programs, and I think one field with lights is a definite 100%, is my opinion. As far as the other funds are concerned, I mean, are we stuck? Is that it? That we can't request anything more from council?
Currently, that was the funding for projects that, general fund money that was going to be looked at for projects that were on hold. So essentially, the direction that we got from City Council was to look at that 1.2 million, because that's the most flexible. Everything else it's tied up in different type of restricted funds.
Which projects were those, was that money pulled from?
I believe it was the above-ground gas tank for the future MOC and police department building, and then I want to say it was Bailey Road. So it was two specific projects that were presented at the last City Council workshop on CIP.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Now, let's say if I wanted to, or if us as a commission wanted to send up to council to request for them to put into their general plan, you know, let's say finding 500 acres of land so that we can start putting together a sports complex, you know, is that something that that we are able to send up there, or no?
That's definitely something that as a commission, if you guys want to make a recommendation to City Council to consider to add funding to, that could definitely be done if there's a consensus with the commission.
Okay, and I can bring that up later on. Okay. Let's see, what else do I have? Guess as far as, you know, the other money is concerned, I mean, finding more land for me. I mean, we could use a few amenities. I mean, looking through the potential infill uses, actually, there's quite a few things that I think could happen. It might be nice, and I don't know what the cost is, but to consider having smaller fields allocatable, you know, that aren't necessarily your big multipurpose field, but more of a small, you know, for younger, you know, up to like age 10 years old type of a, you know, group where, you know, some of these leagues, organizations can actually take at a lower cost a smaller piece that's more convenient, especially for a smaller neighborhood, you know, and the impact obviously isn't going to be great because it's small, and the lights, you know, we don't have lights, so it goes up to what, 7 o'clock. But, you know, to alleviate any of the strain, you know, I think just whatever is possible. I don't know if I can really say specifically because there's so many options of locations, but, you know, yeah, that's all I got for now.
Thank you, Laz. Mo?
Yeah, so we talked before about a regional park. Is that still something that's in the works or is being talked about having?
That is an item that is on our CIP list, but it's currently unfunded. But that is something that funds could be allocated to in the future.
Okay. My other question is, so we're talking about $1.2 million, right, being allocated to parks. And if we talk about these two parks, Peterson, ELP, Pete Peterson and Hidden Hills, we're talking about $800,000 leaving us $400,000 to play with, correct?
Yes, potentially, yes.
Okay, okay. And when do we get to talk about what we can do? What is now the time to say, hey, we want to, you know, maybe allocate some of that money towards Banner Park? We're talking about maybe a playground and other items like that.
This is the time, yeah.
Okay.
Because the city only has one more budget workshop? Or
Yes, the budget
which is-
workshop is scheduled for May 7th.
Yeah, so it's coming up next week, so this is our last chance to put in any kind of recommendations. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, as far as the recommendation was made about the Salt Creek Trail extending to the Paloma Wash, is that, do we have an idea of the cost of that, or is that just not even in design yet or talked about?
No, that's a new project that's being added this cycle, and currently they're asking for, it's unfunded, but currently they're looking at a feasibility study to determine connectivity and cost associated with that. So any funding to that would go towards that feasibility study itself.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mo and Laz. You know, it's a rare opportunity we have to have the city council come back to us and say, hey, we think we can give you $1.2 million to take care of some easy, maybe not easy, but low-hanging fruit projects that we can get results right away within the first fiscal year of the next biennial budget. From what we've heard from public comments today, field allocation is, we've been hearing that for quite a while, only having just a limited amount of multi-purpose fields that are lit at night. And, you know, during the time change when we you know, it gets dark at 5 o'clock. I know we're working on a solution at Quartz Ranch to get that back on the list with a type of partnership with the school for parking.
Yes, that's correct.
And so hopefully we'll get Quartz Ranch back soon, but I see this as a really easy opportunity for us to create 2 new multi-purpose lit fields. The recommendation for Peterson and Hidden Hills Parks makes sense because they have the other amenities that are needed, bathrooms for our little ones. I mean, Nova is a great spot, and it's, but unfortunately there's no restrooms, and as we know, restrooms cost a lot of money. What are we looking at, even just the thing at Gil Webb?
It's about $800,000 with the sewer
about
line.
$800,000 for a bathroom. And these are modular, you know, you just connect them up to plumbing. And at least Nova, it's probably a lot easier to get to plumbing than it is
Nova
at
is a
Gil.
lot, it is a lot,
It would
I will
be-
say that we're not going under a culvert, so.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, so it's still expensive, but hopefully that's something that can be happen down the road. I'd really like to see in the future, you know, that every future community service CIP project budget includes as many of these infill projects that have been identified in the master plan. But I would really love to see us recommend to City Council that we recommend that field lighting be installed at Peterson and Hills with that money. And with the remaining funds, I understand there's a shortfall on the budget for a playground at Banner Village Park. Banner Village was the first park to have a splash pad, and it was a trade-off during design to have a splash pad built by the developer instead of a playground. But obviously, after going through a season there, you realize that splash pads aren't very useful in the wintertime, but certainly playgrounds can be used year-round. And so I'd like to recommend that at least some of these remaining funds be allocated to the shortfall to build Banner Village playground, which I think is around $200,000, if I'm not mistaken.
500,000.
How much?
No. Oh, it's the shortfall, sorry.
The shortfall is
I apologize.
about 200.
I thought you meant the whole project, I
The whole
apologize.
project is 5.
You're correct.
Isn't that crazy that it's $500,000 to build a playground? But $200,000 for that. If there's anything that staff would recommend that we could do with that remaining $200,000, or if that's kind of like our slush fund in case costs come in higher than initially anticipated, maybe that should be left. But Laz, got some comments?
Well, I wanted to speak about Remington Park. I know that we've had, is it complaints regarding parking? Or
So there is no parking lot at Remington Park. There's a restroom, but there is no parking lot. I know there's street parking, but the street on Junipero is pretty narrow. It's a pretty narrow street that's there as well. So yes, you can street park on there, but it impacts the community more than it would some of the other parks.
I see. Yeah, the one thing at ELP Peterson Park is that's also the home of the Menifee gopher population, and we have quite the population. But
And that has been treated. I know, and we're still, it's an ongoing issue, but I know we spent a lot of money, and we did spend some time, and it's definitely a lot better than it used to be. But so I know it's been treated. It's not a big gopher population there anymore. It was in the past, but we have been working on that, and we'll keep working on that.
Okay. Yeah, the one thing at Remington, we used to be there in the, early afternoon into the evening before it got dark, and the place was packed, and there were cars parked, respectfully. Personally, I don't think I've ever seen really a negative parking or, vehicle type of, or even, people attending the park type of an impact to the neighborhood. Is that something that we can actually look at as an option, an alternative to ELP Peterson, or is that off the table completely?
So the two parks that we presented today were because staff had the opportunity to review, and as we mentioned, the amenities. In order to consider other parks, we'd kind of have to go back and do our homework a little bit, and with the time constraints, it's not typically something we'd want to if there's a possibility for us to look at that in the future, we certainly can, but we'd like for Commission to consider the recommendations we put before them.
Got it. Understood. Thank you.
Well,
As far as the Quartz Park, that's a lit field, right? Quartz is?
Yes, it is.
And I understand the biggest problem there is parking. Is there any way to enlarge the parking there? And if so, what would the cost of something like that be? Because that seems to be the problem, is parking, right?
Yeah, there is no, for that actual parking lot, there is no area to be able to increase the parking lot size. So that one does not have the capability to do that.
So Mo, that's why we're looking at a partnership with the school district to utilize the parking at the Evans Ranch Elementary Middle School. Is it middle school?
Elementary.
It's elementary, right across the street there. People have been parking there kind of unofficially, and we're trying to come up with an agreement with them so that we can actually use that. So we can bring back Quartz Ranch.
Is that an open lot that people can just, any time of day, pull up and park, or would it be reserved?
It's typically closed after the after-school program hours, so sometimes they'll lock it up at around 6 o'clock. But the agreement that we're hoping to work with Menifee Union School District is to be able to offer that as an option as a part of the allocation process. So, but still working out the details on that one.
What do you think the timeline is at, Ms. Mitchell?
I'm hoping before the next school year.
Yeah, I understand the concerns about Remington has a huge field, and it's newer, of course, than Peterson. But again, you've got that Heritage Lake Drive residential neighborhood right there, and a very narrow Junipero Road to park on. So I can understand why staff is hesitant to recommend that initially. And maybe in the future that would be, that's maybe third on the list. I was just looking at the maps too, as well, just seeing what the impact is there too. Is there not counting Valleywide parks? Do we have equity of field usage east and west of the 215 freeway? It seems like we're, well, Underwood and Centennial are on the east side, right? So of the 215 freeway.
Correct.
So
Audie Murphy's the only.
Audie Murphy is it, and then the
field.
Quartz Ranch when it comes back, right? So
Correct.
this would give us two more parks on the west side of the city for soccer fields, et cetera. So, any other comments, commissioners?
I'll take what I can get.
Sure.
Sounds like a plan to me. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, gosh, this is just an opportunity, and the time is short. We have to make a decision today because we need to get that recommendation to City Council for their budget meeting next week, so that this money can be approved in the next fiscal year budget. So I'd like to make a motion that, to recommend to City Council that this available funds that they've identified in the general fund budget be utilized to install infield lighting at Peterson Park and Hidden Hills Park, and that additionally, that some of this money is used to fund the to complete the funding of the underfunded Banner Village Playground. And if there's any way you can hang on to the rest of that to find any other projects as they come up through the next biennial budget, we'd like to have a right of first refusal on that. I don't know if I can actually make that recommendation, but we want it all, right? Any second to that motion?
I second it.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
I'll third that just to speak.
What's
But
that?
yeah, no, I'll third that.
Okay, very good. Sounds
like
like
the
that's our
idea.
unanimous recommendation.
Thank you.
Ms. Mitchell to council.
The only question I have, is there anything else right now that's pressing that we can, not that I want to spend all the money, but is there anything else pressing right now that we can use close to $200,000?
Gosh, I mean, everything's expensive. I mean, what is a pickleball court cost, or what is a cornhole's fairly cheap, concrete cornhole things, but is that really a big need that I saw? I didn't see identified in the master plan. So
I wouldn't say, it's not identified in there. Like
Is there
Remington Park has cornhole, so it is at our parks, but putting that in, it wouldn't be a huge cost to do that. I don't know. I don't want to throw a number off the top of my head and just be completely wrong, but it's not a huge cost. Definitely nothing like lighting.
Is
Be able
there
to
any
put like cornhole
is
or
there any
anything in.
equipment that we can purchase to help maintain the quality of the fields?
So
Bryce,
we're
that,
looking at purchasing turf equipment now for our turf management program. The hardest part is obviously the use of the fields. They don't get rest, so nothing can rehabilitate and everything. So that's the hardest part. You can't keep live grass alive when there's hundreds of people a day on a field. So without that rest, but then we give it the rest, then no one has the capability to be able to practice or play. So it's a happy medium we're trying to keep right now until we get some more fields.
Excellent.
And the reason I do bring that up is because, like we said about the pump track, the bathroom there, several months ago it was be $400,000. Now we're talking about $800,000. So we have $200,000 to play with, and if there's anything we can use it for right now, before it's $200,000 now and $400,000 6 months from now.
Is the bathroom at the pump track fully funded?
I do believe they allocated additional funding to that, and it should be fully funded. But as we mentioned earlier, we do have some CIP projects that are unfunded on our list that if you wanted to allocate additional funding to, we could do that. So we had talked about the, what was it? The LLMD
The turf is a conversion, so it's a turf and irrigation conversion to help save. A lot of those areas don't have the funding capabilities. As some of our newer CFDs, these LNBs were created back in 1989, so the threshold for them to increase, the funding is not there, so a lot of times we cover it with general fund. So what we're trying to do is, as water increases on those, we are doing a turf conversion, removing the turf and putting either drought-tolerant landscape, and then also the old irrigation, we're trying to move into drip irrigation so it's not sprayed to save that water. Saves water conservation, but it also will help us save funding for those areas as well. That is a CIP project.
Where's an example of that, Bryce,
So,
that comes to mind?
do you mean like an LMD?
Yeah,
So zone 3, there's multiple areas. So that zone is actually all over the city. If you're right across the street, right next to Quartz Ranch, if you're going down the street on Evans Road, so all that grass area that's in there, that's an LMD that's right there, that potable water that's used, that we'd be converting, and that's part of that project when we do that. And we're working with EMWD to be able to get some grants as well through them to get refunded for some of that, but we don't know if that would cover, obviously, all the cost of it to reimburse. So we can do a lot more with those grants once that is. In July, we'll be working with them. So it's not that we need a ton of money. I mean, we still need money, but it's not going to cover the whole cost. We're going to recover most of that cost of those.
I know we'd like to be greedy and take it all, but if there's any way that you can retain any excess of that money into the community services budget, would be awesome. Awesome. You know, it was brought up during this item about a sports complex, and I'm a strong proponent of eventually having a giant sports complex here in Menifee. I'd really like to see us have a regional sports complex. There's lots of areas when you talk about land purchases and stuff. I mean, I see a lot of vacant land along the 215 between Holland and the shopping center. That seems like it'd just be perfect for a big sports complex. There may be other areas, but I hope that's something, and then maybe in our next discussion under 8.2, we can talk a little bit more about that. Go ahead.
Quick question. What's the cost of a dog park?
Again, I mean, it all depends on the size. What size of a dog park, you
Well,
know?
let's just say,
would be, that could, but if we have the land, we obviously it could just be fenced. It could be $100,000. It could be $25,000, depending on what you want. But added drinking fountains themselves, you know, the dog drinking fountains, they're about $3-4 grand each. So it will add up quick, but it won't be. It will max out because it's just a fencing, dog park, some amenities that way. So it depends on what size you would like and what's needed. So it's hard to say. If it needs fencing, that's going to obviously increase. If there's a park that already has fencing, you need just partial fencing. So it all depends on a dog park, or where and size.
Well, maybe asking for some of that excess money that we're not identifying here, as to at least do a feasibility on a dog park at Central Park. On that north end.
Absolutely, and just so in Cimarron Ridge that's being built, it'll start, the actual construction, grading's already started, that will have a dog park as well.
And then another idea, what about like a sensory garden or a sensory type of amenity, you know, for youth or adults that are, you know, that have certain, you know, disabilities that they could really kind of enjoy? Something, you know, I mean, that doesn't sound like it would be an incredibly expensive type of a, you know, amenity. I don't know specifically what you'd call it, because we don't really have a name for those. But yeah, I mean, just anything, you know, dog park, something to add, because there's a lot of people crammed into a small space with not enough free open land, you know, and yeah, I think people want to breathe a little bit, you know, so.
So just to clarify, so what I've heard is that Commission wants to move forward making the recommendation for the 2 lit fields, one at ELP Peterson, one at Hidden Hills, and then also fund the difference in order to complete the Banner Village Park Playground project. And then with the remaining items, we'd like to find alternative projects either already existing in our CIP in order to fund some of those items to keep it within parks in general.
Right.
Okay, so I definitely think we have direction with that, and with taking into consideration dog parks as an option and sensory items for the future, but those type of things would obviously require some additional research on our end, especially when it comes to the cost. But we definitely want to try to ensure that we maximize this opportunity as best we can within our park system.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would a dog park at the Central Park be even a consideration? Is there space there for a dog park?
There's infill spaces at Central Park, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to 8.2, public-private partnership overview, and receive and file the information on public-private partnerships prepared by staff, and provide any desired feedback regarding potential partnership models, project opportunities, areas for further exploration. Ms. Mitchell.
All right. Good evening. So I'm here to provide a brief overview of public-private partnerships. This is something that our commission has asked questions about on how we could leverage some of the resources available in our community with some of our local organizations, nonprofits, and businesses, and working together with the city in order to expand on the type of resources and amenities that are available for our residents. So we have a couple slides that just kind of give us a brief overview and definitions of some of these items. So the first one being a public-private partnership, often referred to as a P3, is typically a long-term agreement between a city and a private entity. So that could either be a business, that could be a local nonprofit, or other government agency. But essentially, we're sharing the responsibilities of creating and delivering a public project. So when we talk about sharing responsibilities, that often includes the sharing of capital investment, meaning there's money on the table and that there's some financial risk that might be associated with this. But essentially, it's something that is often used for large-scale public projects. So P3s, often give us the ability to leverage some of these resources to the benefit of our residents. And so again, as a city, we can't always do everything ourselves. As you know, our resources are limited, and so it really does help to be able to have the opportunity to leverage some of these partnerships to fill and meet the needs of our residents. And then again, as I mentioned, it's usually looked at for some of these larger, more complex projects, such as like a large-scale regional sports park or aquatic centers, things of that nature. So again, it's city, private partner, sharing responsibilities ultimately for the community's benefit. So there are several steps that are involved when it comes to P3 projects and how they get approved. And a lot of it has to do with because, we are a public entity. We do have our limitations. We have our rules and regulations when it comes to the utilization of city resources, government resources, things of that nature. So essentially, it starts off with identifying the need. And so as you know, we have our Parks Master Plan that was recently established in 2023. The City Council has their strategic visioning plan that also outlines some ideas and direction for staff. And so normally when we look to identifying some of those needs, we would look to those type of documents to help us take a look at what potential projects might be able to benefit from something like a P3. Oftentimes, once we've identified projects, we'll move into kind of like a feasibility study type phase where we take the time to assess the potential for the project, if there's any interested partners out there, if there's any type of amenity or thing that we're really trying to hone in on to try and meet a need. So again, it's more about like whether or not it's a possibility for us to move forward in that direction. And then in order to even start moving into what the framework might look like, this has to go to City Council for authorization to approve this because, again, it's a public entity engaging in contracting with a private entity, whether that's business or nonprofit. And then, again, so really trying to identify, clearly identifying the usage of taxpayer resources and potentially even property and real estate. So really, once we've staff have the authorization for from City Council to proceed with negotiations, there's oftentimes a framework that's defined, and that's really where you get into the nitty-gritty of who's in charge of what, who's bringing what to the table for what benefit. So really outlining all of the responsibilities of both the public organization as well as the private and or nonprofit, and then what those potential risks that might be involved in that, and then also what the community access looks like, because there's various forms of P3s, and so that could also limit or expand access to the community. And so when it comes to partner selection, that also is a process that the city has to go through because, again, we're a public agency. So we often will go through the request for proposal process, which is essentially we open up this bid for anybody who might potentially be interested in partnering with the city, who has the means and the capability of bringing a project like this to the table, and they submit their proposal to the city for consideration. And so it's typically a time frame between 30 and 45 days where we're accepting bids, and then we will take the opportunity to review the possibility of engaging with a selected partner. And so then once we've selected our partner, we go into the agreement process, which then, is also a city council action. So there's a very formal agreement. City attorneys are involved as well as private attorneys, and just, kind of defining the roles and the timelines and identifying the ins and outs of this project before it gets approved by city council. And then, that's kind of when the real work begins when it comes to design, construction, and partnering with the city and the private private partner with the city overseeing this process. And so eventually, after all that is said and done, the facility or the amenity is open to the public, and depending upon the type of partnership, it is being operated and monitored by either the city or the private partner, or some type of combination of both, but generally with oversight from the city. So it's a lengthy process, but it can definitely be something that's worth it. But as you can tell by the number of steps that are entailed with this, that's why it's usually with something that's a much larger type of project, just because of all the steps and the legalities behind it, essentially. So we do have a list of common P3 models that are used in community services. I'm not going to read every single one of them, but they do range from something along the lines of our lease back or lease buyback, where the city leases land to a partner, the partner builds, and then the city leases back over time. And so a lot of things you'll see, community centers might be built that way, public buildings, libraries, things of that nature. Alternatively, you have the ground lease option, which is where the city owns the land and leases it long-term to a private development for operation. And so sometimes those are sports complexes, amphitheaters, and things that generally our public has the opportunity to utilize. Some of the other ones are a little more detailed and not as involved with the city organization, kind of like the build, operate, transfer, where a private entity will build and operate it, and then eventually over time transfer to the city, or the full-scale build, design, finance, operate, and maintain, where this is really the city may pay based on overtime based on performance. So the time period really isn't as defined in some of those options. So what we found in our research is that most public agencies engage in the lease back option or the ground lease option, just because of the ability of the city to maintain the public ownership of whether it's the facility, the amenity, or the land. So in the staff report, we did provide additional information on the differences between a P3 versus what a memorandum of understanding might be, or what potential sponsorships might be, or even joint use agreements, which are very much on a smaller scale and more targeted towards either a specific amenity or partnership where it's mutually beneficial, whereas these models are very much a larger scale in nature. So I believe with that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Very informative. Appreciate the presentation and the staff report. We have some public comment, so let's go into that and let our public speak on this particular item. So we call the first speaker.
Melanie Phillips, please.
So obviously, without a full understanding of what that looks like, I do have some concerns for particularly my organization. Reason being is we're not a profit center, we're a nonprofit. So we don't have a branch that could then fund our nonprofit side to partner. Like, we could not compete with an organization that is for profit. So I read over the proposal for the partnerships for park improvements, leasing opportunities. While I think they're great initiatives and I'm hopeful about them, I'm concerned that we've essentially lost sight of the little guys, or they would kind of be lost in the process. We're the largest youth sports program in Menifee, but we would essentially lose out on some of these opportunities if they're structured the way I interpret them, where those that have more financial gain would benefit more. Those programs that have one branch that is nonprofit with another profit-inducing branch funding them could essentially buy out those extra opportunities, while those that can't do that would lose out. It's the same issues with our field allocations currently. My program gets community service organization preference, but our national guidelines and philosophies include open registration, means anybody from any city can register with Menifee. So if the program's attractive enough and they come from Paris, Riverside, Moreno Valley, we have kids traveling from everywhere. We get less fields allocated to us because our Menifee residency percentage drops as our program gets more popular with outlying cities. So while the need for partnership and collaboration is a big one, my concern with the way it's phrased now is that money's a big consideration. My program will never be able to compete with one that charges $2,000 plus for a registration. We charge $180. While we offer no-cost scholarships, rates as low as possible to meet the needs of our community, those programs I mentioned, they have a bigger funding source than we do. Ours is all sponsors or registration fees, and we are required to spend a certain amount of money within our program. We can't even hold money. So we have to only hold on to a certain dollar per kid in our bank account, and that's all we're allowed to maintain. So something like that would require big capital funding is not something that we would be able to partake in, but we could offer a lot of other resources. We're a volunteer organization. Myself, all of our directors, we all work for free. I would ask in these partnership negotiations that those things are considered. Equipment maintenance, which is required through AYSO through our bylaws. We have to maintain all the equipment, even on other people's fields. Field cleanup, community service events and appearances, and partnerships of a more wholesome nature. I hope that those are considered as well. If those partnerships are geared toward the biggest fiduciary fish, then you're essentially pushing out those programs that are entirely geared toward just letting the kids play and giving them an opportunity. We have over 1,400 families in just our rec program. We have another 400 within our competitive, and we have another 500 in our adult league. So I would ask that those programs are considered as well.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Any other-
Okay, Cesar Rivera, please.
Sure. Yes.
Sure, my time didn't start yet, did it? Okay.
It's okay. Go ahead.
All right, great. Well, I'm new to the PPP, so I'm excited to be here. I think that you guys, or we all identified a big need today, which is a sports complex. And I have a nonprofit, as you guys can see there, and it's focused around empowering youth in sports. So one of my main objectives is to, at some point, build a sports complex, whether I had to do that on my own or I have to partner with somebody. And what not better than partner with the city that I live in, that I was, pretty much raised my kids in and have a heart for the youth in this area. As they both mentioned, there's a big need. You guys all mentioned and identified a big need for a huge sports complex. I don't know if you guys know this complex in Corona or Norco that's called Silver Lakes. That's somewhat of a dream of mine to build something like that in this area. So partnering with the city of Menifee and or anyone that's interested in looking at that is where I'm really focused on in the next few years. In addition to what you guys have there in front of you, which is pretty much empowering youth in sports. So not just building champions on the field, but as well as off the field. That's my mission statement and my vision. My goal is to help bring accessibility to sports in the financial aspect for the youth, because there's a lot of youth, in addition to what they just mentioned, the fees, that range from even $180 to $2,000 for a season. A lot of kids can't afford that. And not just that, but a lot of kids need mentoring in regards to leadership, as well as hard work and ethics. And my nonprofit is focused on those things, and with the goal of not just providing the need financially, but also providing the coaching in regards to leadership, character, educational. So I'm partnering with local businesses and communities to help me provide resources such as a character test, educational test, financial background checks on families that really need this money and these resources. My goal is to raise $1 million this year through just building relationships, events, and I really just started my efforts this year. I've had a nonprofit for over a year now established, and that's really where I'm coming to you guys to see if you guys can support that initiative. And seeing that there's an opportunity to build fields and that we all see that there's a need, I'd love to be considered as one of the partners to be able to submit for a proposal for a sports complex in this area. So, like I said, I don't want to sound cocky, but it's going to get done, whether it's with the support of the city or not, whether I got to buy the field, figure it out, find the funding. I don't know, but there is a need, and I really want to fill it. So I do have a passion for the youth. I have a passion for building young men and women, and I'm just I appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully you guys can give me some feedback and help me with my initiative. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rimmer. Any other comments?
No more comments.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate the public comments. Any discussion items, commissioners, on this item, 8.2? Last?
Not sure if I really have a discussion item, but I mean, I do feel strongly that we need something. We need some outside support, and and if it's not coming from the developers, I mean, we need to get something going. The city doesn't have endless funds, and we don't, can't just make magic happen. So, I mean, I support this as long as most definitely, as one of our public speakers has mentioned, we don't forget anybody. I mean, I think that was part of when we discussed this initially. There was an issue of, well, certain people can, essentially take over more of the partnership opportunities, but as long as they stay fair and as long as it's similar to our field allocation policy, just to make sure that the opportunity is open for anyone that wants to participate.
Thanks, Les. Mo?
On the common P3 models, you say the first two are the most common. Under the second one, ground lease, what is typically leasing it long-term? What would long-term be typically?
So for the ground lease option, that model, it's typically where the city owns the property, and they would contract with either, you think of something like the what's it called, Big League Dreams, or some of those other larger organizations that build sports complexes, and they'll lease the land, or they'll lease the land to that private organization so that they can build it, and then essentially, depending upon the contract or the agreement, the city would get funds for leasing the land to them. So depending upon the agreement, they may never own that complex in itself, or if it's something that somebody wants to come in and over the course of, it's typically 25 to 30 years, that could eventually become city property.
It becomes city property. Okay, good.
Ms. Mitchell, you didn't mention in this presentation the other option, which is naming rights, where an organization would contribute funds for the operation of a facility in exchange for naming rights. Is that?
That's
It's not so much.
not
falls
so
into
much
this
the P3,
category.
yeah. Not so much the P3, but that is definitely something that we've seen. MSJC recently did that with their stadium. It hasn't been something that we looked at. We'd have to do a little more research on.
But the owner still operates it, or the city or the school in that case operates it, and they just receive funds from the naming.
Yes.
Organization.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Very good, thank you. I do hope that at some point, especially out of the initiative of finding our unique identity, and if whatever comes out of that, there may be a need for a public-private partnership to fund something, like if there wanted to have a big theater complex or something like that for live theater, or a big water recreation park or something like that that's just beyond the capacity of the city to operate. I don't think we're necessarily talking about like I lived in Riverside for a long time, and I remember the Ab Brown sports comp fields. It's just a giant field full of, I don't even know, maybe they have lighting now, but they didn't when my kids were playing there. But it was just a big dedicated field that had, I don't know, a dozen soccer fields at least on it that was used, and I believe it was city-owned, and so the cost for the users was minimal. Because I understand you couldn't afford to pay thousands of dollars a season for something like that. So that's kind of what my thinking of a giant sports field especially for this kind of thing, for soccer and maybe even one in this is baseball fields too. But thank you for that report. And thank you for the public comments too. And Ms. Phillips, you said you would be willing to donate money to light one of the fields now that you've seen what they cost. Can we hold you to that, $400,000? Okay, to get a second on your house but it's crazy how much things cost, isn't it? But thank you for all your comments today. Let's move forward on item number 9, Community Service Department comments. 9.1, Director comments.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. Just wanted to, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, just a reminder to our Commissioners and the public that the City Council will be having their budget workshop next Wednesday. And I apologize that that time is wrong. It's Wednesday, May 7th at 4 p.m. here in City Council chambers, where they'll be discussing primarily the general fund budget and some of the additional capital improvement projects that will be moving forward in the next biennial budget. Another item I wanted to make sure your commission was aware of, we're currently conducting a community survey for Americans with Disabilities Act Self-Evaluation and Transition Plan. And essentially, this is a survey that's made available to our residents just to kind of identify where maybe some of our gaps are. Kind of, we talked about complete streets and active transportation, kind of along the same lines, just so that we can get an idea of the resident sentiment and how they feel about accessibility in our public spaces. So there is a link to a survey that's available, but you can also find it on our city webpage, cityofmenifee.us, and make that available to anybody who's interested in providing input on that. And last but not least, we wanted to let the public know that our city facilities are going to be closed on Monday, May 26th in observance of Memorial Day. But you can also see community services at our event, which I'm sure our staff will talk about later. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Any comments for the director? All right, let's go to 9.2, Parks and Progress update. Bryce.
Okay, not much has changed since last month. Cimarron Ridge and Valor Park have both started grading, but the actual construction of everything else starts here in May. So this month, those will get underway, and we'll have 2 new parks there. Just as throw it out there, Legato will have multiple parks in there. One's of a larger park that will have the multiple sports fields that are lit again, but that's as the development grows, builds, they will end up building that park. And then also Cantalina, that's on there that commission had recommended and approved for the conceptual of the multi-purpose field with the track around it. So that will be another multi-purpose field in the near future, but again, not soon enough, but it is in the works. And that's all I have for the Parks in Progress.
Thanks. Any questions for Mr. Howell? Commissioners, no, thank you. Let's go forward to 9.3, Solid Waste and Recycling. Ms. Jones.
Good evening. I'm just a pretty quick update. Last month was pretty heavy on outreach. WM's been in the community hosting workshops to inform everyone about the contamination monitoring and how that works, and to remind everyone about proper sorting of waste. They will start this month and through the summer what they're calling a HOA roadshow, just to reach out to HOA communities to provide that same presentation. On the city side, we held several community booths. We did a presentation at the Citizens Academy and the Menifee Library. And then we also had the bulky item drop-off event during Menifee Better Together. We routed 21 illegally dumped bulky items in the month of April, and that's just a screenshot of the Menifee Recycles website, the residential page, which has a ton of information for the community, and we will be making updates pretty soon about the contamination monitoring. So just wanted to highlight those.
Thank you. And compared, I don't know, the Quail Valley bulky item drop-off, I know we put it at the school this year. Is it about the same? Did we have an increase, do you think, or a little less?
Probably a little less, just because of the space constraint. We just got a report from staff. They estimated about 150 attendees. So KBM Parks, relatively small. It's become one of our smaller events. But our larger events, where we're Heritage High, which will be happening in the fall in September, and then MSJC in the February, typically our larger events where we're also accepting e-waste, giving away the mulch, and things like that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Jones? Okay, let's go to 9.4, Recreation Division update. Is this Gabby now? Awesome.
is.
Thank you.
And so here is an overview of our April attendance numbers. As we get closer to summer, the amount of special events we offer as well as picnic shelter reservations will continue to grow. But as you can see, this is an overview of our contract classes, facility and field reservations, recreation classes and programs, and special events, just to name a few things. Next is our revenue for the month of April. This year we opened up summer camp registration 2 weeks earlier on April 15th. This allowed our families to plan ahead for the summer. As you can see, that has led to a spike in our monthly revenue numbers. Our remaining summer programs did open up for registration earlier this morning, so you'll also see that reflected in next month's report.
Want to go right ahead to 9.4? Go ahead.
The programs at the Case Santa Sarah Senior Center continue to thrive. There are classes, workshops, and events taking place daily with something for everyone. Seniors, families, and caretakers are invited to our annual Senior Expo and Wellness Fair taking place this Saturday at Sun City Civic Association. There will be over 40 resource booths and service providers on site, some of them providing free health screenings. Lunch is provided for the first 150 seniors that complete a vendor passport, and this event is free and open to everyone. On May 14th, we've partnered up with Lake Elsinore Storm Baseball for a Menifee Senior Day for a day game starting at 11:05 a.m. Seniors can purchase tickets directly from the Storm for $8, which will include free parking, a $5 food voucher, as well as a voucher for a future game. We do have some limited space available for seniors that might need transportation from the Case Santa Sarah's Senior Center, and any seniors that do need transportation can give us a call or visit us at the Senior Center. As mentioned, summer program registration is in full swing. Spots are filling up quickly for camps and aquatics. I'm excited to announce the Get Her in the Game program that is launching this Saturday. This is under a grant from the National Recreation and Parks Association and funded by Nike. So this is a 6-week basketball skills development program for girls ages 8 to 14. Participants will receive weekly giveaways, experience various drills, and develop life skills from sports professionals in the region. Additionally, we did open our registration for our fall flag football program early, and practices will begin in August.
Aquatics, when are we gonna, when, did you say that's gonna go live soon, as far as registration?
Correct,
Or
we opened
some-
registration this morning.
You did that one this morning as well,
Yes.
too? Okay.
Correct.
And still just Paloma Valley High School?
Yes,
This
we
next
will be
season?
going into our second year this year, and then we'll be able to assess the community needs and as well as staff resources and looking into a possible expansion in the future.
Any significant changes from this year, from last?
We are adding parent and me classes,
Awesome.
so we're
Okay.
excited to be able to offer that for our younger community.
Very good, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Gabby on 9.4? Okay, let's go, you're going to take 9.5 on a special events update?
Yes. So May 16th is our summer art affair featuring high school students. They will be showcasing a variety of different art mediums, such as sculptures, short films, photography, and painting. We currently have almost 200 submissions already, so we're very excited to showcase. We actually also have some junior high students as well. Our Good Morning Nature series will be returning on May 30th, and Bryce will talk a little bit more about that with our park ranger updates. We will be honoring our military members that have died in service at our annual Memorial Day Remembrance Ceremony on Monday, May 26th at 10 a.m. at Hidden Hills Park. We will be securing additional overflow parking in the teacher parking lot at Paloma Valley High School with shuttle service provided by Caravan. And lastly, our summer event season is right around the corner. We have movies in the park coming in just a couple weeks, Menifee Moonlight Market and concerts, of course, our amazing Independence Celebration and Shakespeare in the Park, just to name a few things. We'll have flyers and additional marketing items available soon, and we're looking forward to seeing you all out there.
Awesome. A fun-filled summer, looks like, is ahead of us. Any questions for Ms. Cowell? Okay, thank you very much, Gabby. Appreciate that. So we'll go to 9.6 CIP program update and maintenance division report.
All right, I'll go
Bryce.
quick. Just a couple updates. The park lighting for the pump track. So the foundations were poured. Obviously, we hit on the 28th. We actually hit our 30-day mark. We're able to install the lights. So over the next 2 weeks, we'll be installing the lights starting next week. So by the end of May, we'll definitely have those lights in the pump track that are there. And then that's really the biggest update that I have out of all the ones going on right now. But if you guys have any questions for the capital improvement, go ahead, or if not, I will move on to the next slide.
Just remind me, at La Ladera, we're adding one ball field, but we're
We're
gonna-
adding one ball field,
but
but we're
lighting
adding
both.
lights to both of those
Yeah,
fields,
okay.
correct.
Thanks.
And we're in the final design of that. As soon as we receive that back here, any day now, we'll start our plan review, internal plan review through the city, through each department.
Thank you, Bryce. Yeah, go right ahead, just 9-7.
Okay, so maintenance update. So there was one update that just seemed a little odd on here. I was adding it up when I opened up right now on my phone. So we did 106 submitted for our facilities, and then we actually had 687 submitted for our parks and right-of-ways. We had 621 that were completed, and there was 55 actually submitted by our residents in the month. So we keep requesting that. That helps when residents see things. But there was a total of 55 that we had submitted for My Civic on through the website. 11 are still in progress, and then we had 333 inspections, and we had 23 trees trimmed this last month. So most of our park maintenance, you can see 39% of it is the park maintenance. Our two largest ones are Centennial Park, and then we had 51 work orders actually for Central Park. And some of those are park maintenance, vandalism repair, or in the restroom repairs, a lot of irrigation repairs because we were getting ready for Menifee Better Together, which was, where did it go? There it is. I skipped the slide. So on that picture, Menifee Better Together, one of the events that were there was to do the COVID Memorial Garden there. The Arts Council really stepped up, and it looks great there. So we planted a bunch of roses, the white rock, and everything that goes through there. So that's at the right at the fountains at Central Park. So that is why there was a couple more work orders there for irrigation, making sure we were removing plants, adjusting the irrigation, and getting everything ready for that.
That really came out nice.
It did. They did a good job. And then we'll move on to our park rangers. So we had 538 park visits. We actually reached 513 school outreach participants this last month, 10 volunteer hours for the Adopt a Park, and some of those hours were at Central Park as well. Some of them were at the pump track between those. Coming up is the Good Morning Nature, which is for ages 3 to 5. If you're 6, you can show up. It's okay. But no, it's for the younger age. Most of them are on Fridays during the week, early in the morning, so 9:30 to 10:30, except on May 30th. Obviously, it'll be, you can see the one change. We're going to have that 8:30 to 9:30. So it goes throughout the city, different parks. You're going to walk with the rangers, so make sure you have your good water bottle, good shoes to walk and everything, and they're going to teach you everything, what's going on in the park system, what's going on in other areas of the city, the nature-wise and everything like that. So it's fun. It's definitely for age appropriate for that age group. Each year it seems to be getting a little bit bigger, but we're starting that in May, and the Rangers are actually started. They excited. They like the younger ones. They're fun because you get to give them the hats and the stickers and everything, and they really enjoy it. So, and then also we have is July 11th through 12th is our family camp out, Lazy Creek Park. So the Rangers will be there as well as city staff. And then remember that bring your tent. The one time we're allowed to have tents in the park, and then your flashlight, sleeping bag, and pillow. So that is, like I said, in July, it's $20 for a resident, $24 for a non-resident, and space is limited, so make sure you call our office or fill up get signed up right away because the spots will fill up because we will run out of room and we're not going to have any more room for tents. So, and that is my updates I have. If you guys have any questions.
Yeah, I think there was a misspelling there. I think it's campfire and snores because of all the dads that'll be sleeping in the tents.
Look at you.
But I love the Good Morning Nature walks. That sounds really fun for the little ones too. Mr. Peterson has some question.
I just wanted to, the Menifee app I just wanted to say how unbelievably convenient that is, because let's see, I don't know, a couple weeks back, it was 5:05, I think, is when I put in my request for vandalism at Nova Park, and 9 a.m. the next morning, 9:05, literally what is that, like, I don't know, 16 hours? I don't know how long that is, math. Jose from your team was there fixing the problem, and I mean, we're talking like responsive. It is perfect, and I wish that our community would take advantage of that, because people walk by, they see things, and it's just so easy to use. So, just wanted to say congrats and job well done on that.
Thank you for the report, Bryce. We'll move to number 10 on the agenda, Commissioner reports on committee activities. Commissioners, anything you'd like to report on? Go ahead, Mo.
Finally did it right. Yeah. No, I participated at the spring event at Lauladero Park. I think that was a big success. Were you there, Mariana? I think I saw you. Yeah. Yeah, it was a big success. My daughter, she wasn't feeling very well that day, but she really enjoyed it. And we ran into quite a few people from here that we know. It was great.
Awesome. Laz?
Okay, well, my list of activities was cut a little short this month due to my children's obligations, but I was able to attend the opening for Menifee Better Together, which was, it brightened up my entire day. To be honest, like I showed up tired, and just moving forward from that point on, I had energy and I was happy, and it just, the energy there, just the vibe of the people there willing to serve is just so beautiful, and it's such a great event. I was able to attend a Watch Me Grow with the littles, and they were playing t-ball and basketball, and they were all having fun. It's just so cute watching them grow. We had the joint City Council PRTC workshop for the community center design, which looks amazing. Absolutely beautiful building, and it's going to be nice to see that one come to fruition here. And this afternoon, I attended the National Day of Prayer. And that's it.
Awesome, thanks, Laz. Yeah, we had a lot of wonderful activities this month, starting with the Multicultural Festival on April 5th that I was able to attend, and then April 12th Spring Festival, and that was not me in the bunny suit, but though somebody said it was Councilman Carwin. Is that true? I'm not sure, but and then April 26th, Menifee Better Together was just an awesome event as well, too, and a lot of good things were done in the city. Attended also the joint council PRTC workshop on the community center, and also the National Day of Prayer today. And I appreciate the community services support in all of those events that were very successful. Number 11, future agenda requests. Commissioners, anything else we'd like to have added to future agenda requests? I just have one. Would it be possible for staff to identify for the Parks Commission city-owned property within the city that could potentially be used? I know Evans Ranch North. I know we have a property over in Quail Valley off of Getz Road. Of course, there's that the Bradley Cherry Hills lot. But if there's other properties that the city, I wonder if we could just present us with a map of that.
Yeah, would you like that to be a part of like a separate discussion item, or is that something we could include in our Parks in Progress maybe?
Yeah, I think Parks in Progress, just, yeah, it gives us at least a visual, and the community a visual on what are the city-owned properties in this,
Yeah, so
potentially available.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Just so if we do talk about it, our Parks in Progress, if there's any action that you want to take with that information, then it might be better suited as a discussion item, but you would just need to request the future agenda for discussion.
Do you guys think it needs to actually be an agenda item, or can it be rolled in?
Honestly, we could make it an agenda item. I think one thing I was actually going to recommend similar to this is to, make some kind of motion to send up to council, hey, let's start prioritizing finding land, because that stuff doesn't grow. You know what I mean? And it goes away faster. And as we build our city out, the value of that land is going to go up, especially as, you know, developments start getting closer and closer to certain large areas that are available. So, you know, I don't know if,
Maybe I'd like to make a motion that it's an agenda item so that we could have some discussion about it.
I'll second it.
Second that? Okay. All right, anything else, commissioners?
yeah, I've got one thing here. You know, as far as the naming of our parks, you know, I believe that Commissioner Goodrice had mentioned that previously he had actually been a part of naming Spirit Park among maybe another park. And I'm curious what the, I think it was Silver Star Park. I'm curious, how did that fall away from us being able to, you know, be involved in the naming process? And then now the developers.
So are you requesting that as a future agenda item, or is that?
Well, I'm curious right now, but yes.
Okay, so we do have the item for naming memorial for our past employee, Chelsea Bollinger, where we will review the park naming and park and facility naming policy. So that might be a good opportunity to discuss that if you have additional questions, and we can probably address it in that.
Okay, that works.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
All right, then we'll adjourn this meeting of the Parks Commission at 7:54. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance and for those that are watching online. Have a wonderful weekend.